Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of TJ Plays It's some AI and design system stuff. In this edition, I want to show you how to get started with a fresh code base. So I noticed that most or nearly all of the demos that I've ever done have always been, when I'm working with code, it's in an existing code base, one that already has a framework selected, a styling method, a token architecture well established, and it kind of seems like it's easier for the AI to infer how to create components because it has plenty of examples and things to work with. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to be able to kind of show you how we can leverage AI to create a complete context-based design system workflow in the code side of things. So I just ran FigmaLint on this button component set on this new demo, Events Design System, EVENTZ. And I thought I would use Cursor for this. So this is a directory that I have that it's called Events Design System, and this is just nothing in it. There's zero, no markdown files, no directories, no package JSON, anything like that. So I'll get rid of this. I'll open up the Figma bridge, and then I'll go back over here, and then I'll ask it, can you please use the Figma Console MCP to give me a Figma status? So I like it to, this is kind of how I establish confirmation that the MCP client that I'm working with is aware of the Figma project that I want to either edit or get information from. So we got a success. So it looks like it's aware of the demo events design system. So I'm in Cursor and I am working from that events design system directory. So the way that I always get these set up is I like to start with my mise en place. So I like to have everything in its place on the code side in order for the AI to know what frameworks we're using, what styling method we're using. I want it to know that there's token architectures to pull from. So I haven't rehearsed any of this. This is all just kind of like, I have no, and I'm not editing this at all. So I'm just kind of going to wing it and then let's see what it does. This is what I typically do, but I'm going to show you all the mistakes and stuff that happen along the way typically. I'd love to set up the coding environment within this directory. I would love the application to be React-based. I would love for you to install the latest version of Storybook via NPM. I would love for you to install the Lucide design icon set. And I would love for the styling method to use CSS custom properties with CSS modules, and I would like you to use the Figma export token tool in the Figma Console MCP to extract the tokens from the current demo events design system. So I was being pretty specific in there. Let's see if it got all that stuff. I'm going to just correct this event just to make sure it's contextually aware and it's not having to make anything else up. So basically what I'm giving it is like the technical architecture that I want it to be. I'm saying download the latest version of Storybook. It's going to be the latest version will be the React-based Storybook. So now it's planning its to-dos. It's going to scaffold up the React environment with Vite. It's going to install the Lucide icon set because that's the icon set that's going to end up being used with the buttons that I'm going to pull in because the buttons have optional beginning and ending icons. It's going to install the latest version of Storybook, which I believe at the time of this recording is like Storybook 10.4. And it's going to inspect the events design system tokens that are, I'll show you that in a second. And then the tool that it's using is cool because it uses the DTCG JSON spec and it's using the CSS variables method that I requested. It's going to wire exported tokens to the app and the Storybook, so that way the CSS module files themselves would be able to acknowledge and use the CSS properties that are referenced in the master sheet. Looks like it's going to write a README to explain the setup. So here we go. while that's happening, oh, I can show you over here. Actually, this is cursor. I can show you in here. This is what it started. It's starting to populate already. So this is great. So it's installing all of these pieces. This is the node package install for this stuff, and it's adding the correct files in here. It's getting a source directory set up. It's getting some assets in here, which is cool. So this is base. This is just standard Storybook. What you're seeing right here, what it comes in. It comes in with like a header, a button, and page stories. This all looks correct. So this is all pretty standard Storybook stuff. If we look at the package.json, you can see some of the stuff that it's populating with. We see Storybook. Let's see. I was looking for the, there it is, Lucide icons. And so all of this is looking correct so far. And over here, and I'll show you what the variables look like over here. So this is the variables table, tier 1, tier 2, all of it. We got a dark mode and a light mode. So the expectation is that all of that should come in correctly. And these are all the different colors that come along with it. So let's see. So it's pulling in the design tokens right now. So it's running the get variables tool. That's a tool that's built into the console MCP. So it's doing a little inspection on what's available. And then now it's running that get variables. It's running the Figma export tokens command. The Figma export tokens command, we have two new tools that we've added to the console MCP. One is export tokens that will look at your variables table within Figma and then export those in a number of different formats, whether you're using CSS and JS, traditional CSS, Tailwind, whatever. It's going to give you a JSON object and then any other method of styling, and it's going to stem from that JSON, and it uses the community standard. The other part that we added in as a tool is an import function. So if there's ever a moment when any color values or any values within code change in your token architecture, so if there's a code change made to the JSON object, you can then run the import function, and then that'll import the changes that were made. So it'll do a comparison of the differences in the variables table in Figma and then what's changed in JSON, and then it'll update the variables table in the Figma side. So this is like, there's design and code parity. This is like token parity. So it's making sure that those pieces are always in line, regardless of which one changes. So, oh, I didn't even ask it, but it looks like it's going through, and it knew since I was selected on the button that it's going to go ahead and create the button, which is neat. I think that was a pretty cool thing that it's doing there. And I didn't ask it to do that, but I'm glad it is. And so just looking at it's pulling in the tokens, that the custom properties that I had asked for. This is the CSS module file. It's giving it all of these different class names. I can be even more specific and ask it to style these in like a block element modifier type styling method. I didn't. I probably should have. Next time, if this were a real thing, I would probably ask it to go back and update that, only because I prefer that method. And we'll take a look at there's the Lucide icon setup. It's got the leading icon, the trailing icon. It's got the variant size leading, so it's pulling straight from the properties that exist on the button. So that's looking pretty good so far. And it's still running. We'll keep it running. It's got the tokens for, and then, let me show you where it puts that. So here's the styles. Here's the tokens. Here's the JSON file that it creates. And then here's the generated one, which would be just a list of all the custom properties. So here's all the custom properties, all those beautiful colors, everything that was taken directly from the variables table in Figma. And it looks like it's adding this little README. And once it's done with that, I'm going to ask it to spin up a local instance of Storybook, just so that way we can see the fruits of our labor and what it looks like. And we'll take a look at the story file. So it looks like it's going to create a couple of different stories in here, a secondary danger, and then all sizes, all variants. All right, here is the summary. So what was set up: React 19 Storybook, React 19 TypeScript, Scaffold with feet, Storybook 10, Lucide, icons, CSS modules, and CSS custom properties. Connected to that one, 312 variables. That's great. It's got the light and the dark mode, tier 1, tier 2. Use the Figma export tokens, created that JSON file. Excellent. Use the W3C DTCG spec. Has the dark mode and light mode in custom properties. And it shows you the architecture, which is beautiful. And then all these other interesting things here, which is great. So wonderful. Thank you for that. Now, can you please fire up the Storybook instance so we may see this new button that you created? So this should just run npm run Storybook, and it might. I haven't used Cursor in a little bit. I know it has its own browser, so it might just kind of do it in its own. It might do it in its own browser. It says, oh, I already have Storybook running on another port 6006, so it's going to run it on the next available port. All right, now it's going to open it in the browser. And what browser is it? Oh, it's going to use its own browser. Let me move my head. And then here it is. There's our button. And let's just compare and contrast just to make sure everything is right with it. I could probably see some there's probably some things that I would correct on it after this first pass that has to do with some padding, but I mean, it's getting all the values correct, and that looks pretty good. What I would ask it to do, though, is let me ask it to be just more specific, because I didn't give it anything, and I didn't give it any information about the actual buttons. Would you mind please taking another pass at the button? It doesn't necessarily look like it shares the exact token architecture and properties of this button. Sometimes Claude gets a little anxious and it likes to kind of go above and beyond and do its own thing. I didn't specifically ask for it to create the button. It knew I was on the button page, but I didn't say create the button. If I were to say create the button, this is what it would do. So the console MCP has this method to be able to take a snapshot and then really dig into the button component specs, the descriptions, the annotations, all of the pieces that you'd want, because I'm surprised that this came out looking like this, because this wouldn't be what I would expect. But sometimes Opus, specifically with this extra high 4.7 effort, is the one most likely to want to go above and beyond and get a little extra with it. And just to show you what this button is made out of, so there's all these different variants. Here's all the different properties, and here is the very descriptive description that we always add for at least every component set, and then sometimes we'll add them for individual variants as well. So we'll just let this do its thing for a little bit. Okay, now it's coming back with what it had, and then what it defined, and then what it had in there, and then what Figma actually defines. And so it's noticing where the gaps were, and now it's editing it. Okay, all right, great. So now it went through. Now that's more like it. This is actually matching with what we see here. So move this to the side. That is looking more like what we're looking for. Excellent. Okay, so there you go. It looks like it's still doing its thing to check through some stuff. This is now an entire architecture for development that has been fully stacked, ready to go. Everything that you need in here is ready for additional component development. In a context-based design system flow, we always recommend starting with your primitives and then working through things that involve more dependencies or nested components. But this is a great start. So here's different variants in here, and it's got the hover states, and it's got the dark mode in there, and it's got this whole matrix thing that it does. And you can ask it to add other stories and if you wanted to get a little bit more specific with what it's displaying there. So anyway, have fun with it. I think this is a great way to be able to get started from a greenfield environment and then just get things going so you and your team can continue on and generate all kinds of other components. All right. Thanks again, and I'll see y'all next time.